junior high didn't, but they were all Compass junior highs, north, west, south, and east junior high. How you been? Not bad.
I realize, Joanna, I gotta take lessons from her. My wife and I are servants for grandchildren.
Okay, I call this meeting of the Monomoy Regional School Committee to order at 6:36. The first order item of business is the approval of the meeting minutes. Are there any corrections? All right, give it. A motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. Then the motion carries 4-1. Okay. Any, next on the agenda is the public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
Hi.
Aye.
Hi. My name's Megan Smith. I have my parent hat on tonight. And I will try to be quick about this. I didn't want to get on the agenda because I didn't want it to be too formal, so I just wanted to come during public comment. But for the 4th of July, I guess it was mentioned at the last school committee meeting, we had a float in the 4th of July Chatham Parade on behalf of the Monomoy School District. And this is the 3rd year that I've been able to spearhead the float. And fortunately this year a parent stepped up and volunteered a trailer and a truck. So we had an actual float. It was very exciting. And I'm happy to report that we did win the Best Youth Float Award for the parade. And we got a very fancy plaque. And because all 4 schools actually were represented, we had students from all 4 schools. I was so happy. We had parents and staff, but all 4 schools were represented. So I wanted to present the plaque to Mr. Carpenter. And I also have a photo of our group. So I just wanted to give it to Mr. Carpenter in case he wants to hang it in Central, because we can't keep it in any of the schools.
Thank you.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was very exciting.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Kids must have loved it. Megan, I want to thank you for all you've done on this, because without you, it wouldn't have been happening.
It was a lot of fun. It was, and the kids love it. They really do.
It was great.
It was a great experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Recognitions?
I have nothing tonight.
Oh. Okay, reports and discussions. We have the Performing Arts trip to New York City in December. Okay.
Hi, I'm Deb Donovan. Nice to see you all again. We are planning our biannual New York trip that we've done now. This is up to the 8th time we're planning on going. It's a 3-day trip. I believe you have all the information in your packets, I hope. But we do 3 Broadway shows, we do 2 Broadway workshops, we do multiple cultural events, and we've been doing this now as a department for, like I said, this is our 8th time, so for 16 years we've been doing it. It's very successful. The kids fundraise. We will do our ad book in the fall as a fundraiser for students to fundraise to help offset the cost. And any questions y'all have, I can answer.
I don't see the information that you
Oh,
were talking about. Could
okay.
you
I
say
sent
the
it over.
dates? The
Yep,
dates?
the dates are Thursday, December 6th to Saturday, December 8th. We head down at 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. We meet here at school and load 40 students onto the bus and head down to New York. We hit the ground running with the Metropolitan Museum of Art and a tour of Central Park. Then we go to a Meet the Artist series where we go and meet with a Broadway performer. Usually it's one of the performers that we will be seeing in a show, which is really nice. Michael tries to line it up that we get to talk to a performer that actually is in one of the shows we're seeing. We do not have shows in place yet. We have to wait till the fall to set the show, the actual shows. Then we go, we're seeing the Nutcracker this year at the ballet. That's new. And then Friday, we leave the hotel at 8 o'clock and we go to Lincoln Center, the Empire State Building, which we have changed to the Museum of Digital and Film. So we're doing that instead of the Empire State Building. Then we go to a workshop again, dinner and a show, and then back to the hotel. And on Saturday, same thing, we head out at 8 in the morning. We're doing the MoMA, and then we're doing a Broadway show, and then we head home, and we get home around 10 o'clock at night on Saturday. So, it's great. The kids love it. They don't have 5 seconds to stop. We get to, we walk all over the city, and it's a great experience for everybody. So we cover art, music, and theater while we're there.
What is the cost and how are the students selected?
The students sign up on a first-come, first-served basis with a $100 deposit, which we started that before we left school. And the cost this year is actually the same as it was before. It's $872, and that includes breakfast and dinner. The only thing students pay for is their lunches.
It's my recommendation that we wait until we get the packet and vote for it next time. You're not on a deadline for this, for a discount price or anything, are you?
No,
That would be great.
no.
Is that,
We usually vote, we usually
Right,
discuss things and
'cause-
then vote another time anyway.
okay.
Need a motion?
So moved.
I'd second
Second to wait. All right, all those in favor of waiting?
it. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to the motion?
I'm open to voting for it now. I don't see any reason to wait.
Same here. So it would be 3-2 that it passes now?
Okay,
All right.
Happy trip.
thank you.
Need any chaperones?
It's the teachers. We take just the teachers. So,
Just
thank you.
joking.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next thing is the Monomoy High School Student Parent Handbook.
Good evening, everyone. I believe you have received a copy of the handbook that's proposed and also a little summary of the changes. If you don't have the summary of the changes, I do have
Yep.
extras. It says memorandum on the top. We have very few changes in the handbook this year. One is regarding our health facilities. Our nurse reviews the handbook every year, and she has 2 pages devoted to health services, the health facility. She did not make any significant changes to that. She reorganized it and tried to make things a little more concise, but did not change the content in any way. In reorganizing, there are some screenings that do occur at grade 8, 9, 10, and a new one at 9. So she put those into one section so they're a little easier to see. There is one new screening. It's a state-mandated screening, the SBIRT, Screening Brief Intervention and Referral to Treatment. It's administered at grade 9. It's a drug alcohol screening. Parents in advance receive an opt-out letter in case they do not want their children to participate in that. And she's happy to report she received 2 such letters, which was good. She really didn't receive more than that, didn't anticipate that. And she actually loved the process. She was a little concerned initially because it involves screening every single student and it's a one-on-one interview. So she was concerned about the scheduling. But she was able to do that, and she actually loved it because she was able to get to know every 9th grader. So she was very happy with that. So that's the new addition to the health screening. Also, there's a section in the health facilities and health services regarding food allergies. But the department as a whole, the nurses throughout the district, under Cheryl's direction as nurse leader, need to discuss that section and see if they are going to make any changes to that. So right now, the way it is in last year's handbook stays for this year's handbook. If they make any changes, then we would be bringing that back to you. The second area of change is in the cafeteria procedures. Again, what's in the handbook last year stands, expectations, prices for lunches. One change that we're adding, we do not permit food deliveries to the school for student lunches from area vendors. We've had a little problem with students just on their own calling Domino's Pizza, and we have the pizza man come at all times to all doors, front door, back door, so we had to rein that in a little bit. So we're making that clear, and it also impinges on our cafeteria services too for lunch. So we decided we'd put this statement clearly in our handbook, and we have town hall meetings with each grade level at the beginning of the year, so we'll make sure when we speak to the students by grade level, we'll let them know about that policy. Of course, if teachers want to organize something for their class where it's a pizza party as a reward for reading X number of books or grades, certainly we can organize that. We were just trying to avoid the haphazard delivery man coming and who ordered it and where's the payment and kids propping open the door to let somebody in. So that's our cafeteria change. The third area is in terms of the introduction to our disciplinary code in the handbook. We're keeping that as is. It's a general philosophical statement. We're also adding in that we have a very strong relationship with the Harwich and the Chatham police departments, and that we have a memorandum of understanding in place where we support each other and we share information regarding crucial topics related to drugs, alcohol, fighting, weapons, anything of a serious nature. And we've always had this partnership. We have never had that statement in our handbook that this exists. So we're putting that in the handbook, and I know the middle school will be doing the same thing. And our last is our cell phone policy. Again, we're leaving our cell phone policy as is, but we are making a slight change. When students enter classrooms, they are going to deposit their phones somewhere, whatever organization system that the teacher puts in place, whether it's a box everyone puts their phone in, or it's the caddy, like the shoe caddy, where students file their phones. Teachers have been doing this. The science department has adopted this themselves already this past year as a policy. One teacher is very accommodating. Besides the students filing their phones, he supplies chargers and everything's all hooked up so the kids can charge their phones while they can see their phones. We found that a little better than the box because the phones are all kind of mixed together and kids get a little nervous when they can't see their phone. But when it's right up there in the caddy and they have the bonus of it charging, it works well and it cuts down on any distractions during class.
I would imagine with less pizza boxes, there's plenty of room in the classrooms too.
Exactly.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Right. So of course, all of these changes we discuss with the faculty. We work with the faculty senate on this. We vet it through school council. Everyone loved the cell phone policy and everything else, frankly. So those are our only slight changes. Nothing really too controversial. Any questions?
Yes. The paper we have here is a little confusing. The health facilities is listed and then the cafeteria procedures. But then it doesn't have the memorandum of understanding or the cell phone. And then it goes to, if I have it correctly, something about a 504 accommodation in Alistro.
That is the middle school.
Oh, okay.
So you might have them mixed
So it
together.
doesn't say that.
I can give you just the high school piece here.
It came out in our emails today, but we didn't
Okay.
have it, we don't have it in
Yeah,
print.
but it-
Okay, so I'm just asking that all of the stuff come to us well in advance. It used to be that the principals told us that if we didn't approve these things by July, they couldn't get it printed up in time for school. So I would ask that this stuff come out like the beginning of July. So if we have any cancellation of no quorum or something, that it's all clear. And if there's only brief things like what you're mentioning, what we used to have is this whole thing with it lined out and the new wording lined in. But if it's very brief like this is very effective as long as it's all on here. I would like to have a copy of the memorandum of understanding and the new screening tool. Just for reference, it could come in an email. It doesn't need to be officially in our packet or anything.
We can get that for you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Well, one question, Jane, you probably already thought about the cell phone usage. The kids will arrive their first day, and that info will be shared with them. I wonder if there'll be an early newsletter to parents, or maybe email, letting them know that the new policy includes a storage basket, storage per class in all the rooms, and the kids drop them off and pick them up at the end of the class, so that
That's
you
a
won't
great
get phone
idea.
calls from kids coming home. Oh, no, they couldn't call, they wouldn't have the phone, it's in the basket, so it gets very.
But that's a great idea, we could do that. We also have the town hall meetings that first few days of school, where
That
we
should go,
talk to
yeah.
each grade level on that.
Yep, good.
But we can put something out, and the principal also has a letter that goes in the handbook, and you'll see the page in the 1819 handbook says, under construction. So he's currently writing his letter. I will suggest that maybe he wants to add something about that in his letter.
I'm very supportive about the cell phone thing. I think that's a great idea to remove them. And I support what Terry's saying about the parents knowing about it. Have you had any problem at all where if they're all in a basket or something here, that anyone takes somebody else's cell phone?
We have not, we're really just formalizing this policy for this coming year. It's been in place, I would say 70% of our teachers have some policy in place, and we have not had anything.
That's
like
great.
that. We're also doing that for detention. When we have the students come to detention, they can file their phones.
I've seen it with other educational sites, so it sounds like it's something that's being done lots of places.
Yes,
So
it is,
it seems to work.
it is.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I also have a comment on the cell phones, but I would say and maybe I'm a slow reader. I spent about 20 minutes today going through the handbook, and I think that means reading very quickly or skimming. I will admit to the skimming. I think it's an excellent document, and I think the community is well served by it. I want to come back to the cell phones for just a bit. I think the policy is evolving and probably will. I think it will be more effective if eventually we can move to the idea that there is a uniform policy of addressing this, or a uniform practice, rather than the teachers will determine how to do it. I would just give an example. There's a extremely significant philosophy statement put up in every room. You are important. It's not left to the teacher to think about making a poster or a plaque and putting it up in the room somewhere. It's provided, it's done, and it's consistent. And that underscores the significance of that statement to the students. I would like to see something similar with the phones, where there's a procedure in every room at the beginning of every class. Everybody knows what it is you have to do. It makes things more effective, and it prevents or minimizes, yes, the student negotiators and renegotiators, the student lawyers who will say, oh, why do I have to put my cell phone away? Mr. Osceola lets me use it, and he's a nice teacher. You know, so you don't need that kind of renegotiation going on. So if there was And I think maybe I'm getting too close to the micromanaging, which is not our business, but I'm in it, so here I go. If there were a discussion on the faculty agenda, how are we doing with our cell phone policy sometime in the first semester? And you heard what the staff had to say about what approaches were working best. It would keep that issue uppermost in people's minds, or in the top of people's minds. And I think it would help move to the uniformity, which I think is going to be the most effective way to deal with this, because smartphones are jamming devices. They prevent teacher noise from penetrating the shield that a student is using to protect themselves. Smartphones, I think, do not produce smart students. So the steps you are taking, I just applaud very loudly and very enthusiastically.
Thank you. We definitely will check in with the staff periodically. How's it going? What methods are working? As I say, last year, we were doing this in various departments, teachers individually. This year, we decided it's going to be a uniform school policy, that they are collected, but we decided to give teachers the flexibility initially when we're implementing this, how they want to collect them. And as we go along, we can see what the most effective is, and we certainly could move towards this is definitively how they will be collected. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then could I have a motion to pass the student-parent handbook for the Monomoy Regional High School?
So moved.
Second.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
All in
Shouldn't beat me to
favor?
it. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimous. All right, next, the Monomoy Regional Middle School Student-Parent Handbook.
Good evening. We have minimal changes at Monomoy Regional Middle School. I did share with you an executive summary of the, really it's only one change that's significant. We added the MOU for our close relationship and partnership with the Chatham and Harwich Police Departments. That language is in red in the document that I gave you. And our 504 coordinator in the middle school has changed from Kristen Hayden to Susan Whitcomb. That's also in red in the document I shared with you. And the only other changes are just staffing changes to update the different individuals that we've hired and swap out and have the right school committee members labeled in the handbook. So those are the only changes that we have at the middle school for the upcoming school year.
Questions, comments?
I will point out at the middle school, we've always banned the use of cell phones, and it's worked very well.
It's good to see the high school catching up.
Mark, a secondary question, it really doesn't have anything to do with the phones, but you mentioned Ms. Whitcomb. Previous meeting, maybe last spring, you were before saying you're building your budget and you really were looking towards strengthening the guidance program there, and you'd be looking for a FTE, and I can recall you chatting about that. Does this transfer fulfill that request, or is this a
It
different
certainly
role?
helps. Yeah, we were looking
So it
for
helps, it's a
1.0
partial.
FTE, and we've got she's a 0.6 position in our building. So we've made some progress for sure towards
Good.
kind of alleviating having just one counselor for a building of 454 students.
Is this counselor going to be specifically for 8th grade, or is it just general?
Should be primarily, we should be handling our 504s, providing direct service to those students who have counseling on their individualized education plans, and helping with the transition from grade 7 to 8. So she'll be working, when possible, with our grade 7 students, because she's familiar with the high school, having worked at the high school for a good many years.
Oh, yes.
So she'll help with
Grade 7.
the ASLP program, the summer program for our students going off to Mass Maritime, helping the 7th graders do their scheduling for grade 8, things of that nature. But she will work with all 3 grade levels.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And could I have a motion to pass the Monomoy Regional Middle School 2018-2019 Student Parent Handbook?
So moved.
Second. Second. Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right. The building lease agreements for the, is that you? Oh.
Katie Isarnio, business manager. When Monomoy Regional School District came into existence and we created the lease agreements with the two towns, it indicated in the lease that we would insure in addition to insuring this building, we would get the insurance for Howard Elementary, Chatham Elementary, and the Monomoy Regional Middle School. But in practice, it made more sense because those buildings are owned by the two towns. This one is separate, so we're talking only about the other three schools. That what the practice has been right from day one is that the towns insure the buildings and then we pay them the portion of the insurance, the cost to insure the buildings. But our lease still reflects that we will get the insurance for the buildings. And this past winter, we had some severe roof damage on the two roofs in Chatham. And when the insurance company looked at the lease, and then we had to talk to them about the actual practice that's in place, they requested strongly that we modify the lease so that it reflects the actuality that the towns maintain the insurance on the two elementary schools and the Monomoy Regional Middle School, and that the district pays our portion to the towns as opposed to how it currently reads. So our attorney, Mark Terry's office, went through and made the changes on the lease, so we certainly can vote on this at an upcoming meeting, but you have a red-lined copy of the recommendations from the attorneys. And then what we will need to do is bring them to both towns, I would imagine, present to the Board of Selectmen in both towns, and then have the lease signed, because they were signed by the chairs of both Boards of Selectmen. So it's just really cleaning up, and it was kind of the reality of once the Monomoy district came into practice, it made more sense for the towns to continue insuring their own property that we pay for. Does anyone have any questions?
It is a little bit confusing. Has this been brought up to selectmen or anyone else besides us?
We talked to the town administrators and wanted to first, of course, come here. And it's really just having the language of the lease reflect exactly what the practice is. And it was because of an incident, and the insurance company just said, gee, it would be better if your lease really reflected the practice.
Thank you, Katie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
Do you want me to just keep going?
Oh,
Next item.
sorry.
That's okay.
I was just assuming.
Yeah, okay.
Please continue
Yes.
with item 5.
If you recall, I came to you last year and we upgraded the defibrillators, the AED defibrillators in all of our schools. And the Commonwealth of Massachusetts instituted a new law regarding the number of defibrillators that need to be available and how far they need to be from sporting events and especially out on fields. So we had an analysis done of our district, and we need 8 additional defibrillators. One will be mounted near the gymnasium at Howard Elementary School, but the rest will be portable. So defibrillators, so that if there's a soccer game and a football game, there could be 2 out on the fields at the same time. So we have a program that we're going to be, the same company, leasing, financing the purchase, and it will be 3 annual payments, $9,271.70 annually for 3 payments for the addition of the 8 defibrillators, so we're in compliance with the new Mass General law about this. And because of the timeliness of this and our fall sports starting, I respectfully request that we would vote this tonight so we can start the process of ordering it, because football's gonna be starting before we know it.
Okay, any questions? All right, Could I have a motion then to
I move to
purchase?
accept Katie's recommendation to buy the 8 defibrillators now rather than wait to adhere to the law.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. And is this your, go for it.
But this is kind of a little bit of housekeeping and with the Howard Elementary School budget. When we looked at the detail, in the 2000s, which was instructional, was budgeted the replacement of some area rugs for the classrooms, and those should be really charged to the 4000s, maintenance of building and its replacement of equipment and building supplies. So what I'm asking, please, is for a transfer of $4,500 from account with the function code 2410 at Howard Elementary into the function code of 4230, which takes it from instructional to building, so that we're charging the carpet replacement to the proper account.
Questions, comments, motions?
I move to transfer $4,500 from the HES instructional to the building to pay for the carpet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
You're on a roll, Katie. You want to stay around for the update?
Right there, do you want to do the encumbrances and assessment?
Oh,
The building
we can
lease
come back
agreements,
to it.
are we to vote on that? Were we to vote on the building lease agreement? Because we haven't.
I think that we could review the building lease and then maybe talk more about it at the next meeting. We just wanted to start the process so we didn't forget about it.
Good, I just
If you
wanted
don't mind.
clarity. Thank you.
Yes, you might want to have
Okay.
the full complement here.
Thank you.
Yes, we can get it, too.
Just-
strategic plan update?
So, I have been discussing with Joy Jordan, who is formally on board with us as our community engagement coordinator as of the 6th of this month, a sort of strategy to bring together many different members of our community to to get their input into the strategic plan, but also we had sat down with a calendar to sort of walk backwards on when would we like to see a strategic plan voted on the school committee, and how do we get there. So if we work backwards through the calendar, ideally what I'm shooting for is November 8th, which is our first school committee meeting in November, to have a strategic plan that we're ready to vote on, which means that we need to present at the prior school committee meeting and have a presentation discussion there that ideally has had all kinds of input. For those who aren't on the school committee, we had a workshop a couple weeks ago that we had the administrators as part of our summer retreat had been looking at, if we think forward over the next 3 years, what are some key leverage things that we should really be thinking about to really move Monomoy further forward, and had sort of a number of areas that we thought were important, shared with the school committee and got their input. We have that information that I think is important to share with a community group. So so what we've the way I've looked at this is if we could look at our calendars for Saturday, September 22nd, and if we have the school committee available, or the the bulk of the school committee available to have we'll call it a community-wide workshop on strategic planning, where we would invite, I think at the moment we have well over 100 different entities. We have names and phone numbers and addresses all ready to go in a mail merge.
On that, when you invite, would it be inviting the group to send a representative?
Yep.
Okay, fabulous.
So in that list, we had met as a strategic planning subcommittee. So we took those units, be it House of Worships or Chambers of Commerces or different boards or organizations. So we've put that list together. In concept, what we would look at is for that Saturday, September 22nd, to invite representatives from each of these organizations. And we would also, I think it would be completely fine and desirable to put even just a little notice in the newspaper and just invite anybody who might be interested. I think it's sort of the more the merrier. With a RSVP date of September 14th. And, so we've been putting together a little flyer to go out. The September 14th RSVP gives us an idea for how many lunches are we providing on the day of the 22nd. In concept, what I'd like to bounce off of the committee, we would do a little bit of what we had done with the administrative team, where it would be myself and the principals sharing with the amassed group some of the great things that are happening here. And there's a lot that has happened over the last 5 years that we as a community should be celebrating, but also to share from each, from myself and from the vantage point of each of the principals, where do we see areas where we have need? Again, making each one of those little presentations short and sweet, so that we're, within an hour we can kind of get an overview of where, as a school district, we are, what we should be celebrating, and some of the key needs that we see. And then we would have that same group of administrators share with the group, just like we did. Here are some of the areas of leverage that we think are important as we look forward. A break for lunch, break bread together, and come back after lunch to really hear from the group. And I think being able to kind of break for lunch gives everyone a chance to also talk amongst themselves on what they've heard and what the needs are. But to have a facilitated conversation after lunch, and we'll work on the structure of, based on how many RSVPs we have, how to best facilitate making sure we are able to hear everybody's voice. If it's 200 people show up, it's hard to give 200 people a chance to all speak at once. So how can we best get that? Is it going to be smaller groups talking amongst themselves, and then reporting out to the whole? I have reached out. We had talked about having a facilitator. I've reached out to Patty Grenier, who I think has a lot of talent, watching her over the years at doing something like this. Coincidentally, Patty has worked with Lyle Kirkman and his group. Lyle's firm was Future Management, Inc., which was the firm that did the strategic planning that Sharon, I think, has talked about before at Chatham Bars Inn. So I think Patty's very aware of that format and style, and I've reached out to her, and she'd be available that weekend if we want to engage with her. So we have our time together. From that larger group, we would put together a strategic planning steering committee, and it would be that group that would take essentially the draft of leverage items and input that we've gotten, and massage into a plan over the course of the month of October of meetings, so that on October 25th, which is the last school committee meeting of October, we should have a draft to bring to this body to discuss and then ideally vote on the November 8th.
Scott, you mentioned that there was a subcommittee for the strategic plan that met.
Right, so of this group.
Of this group, okay. So I know that I'm on that group. I didn't know if it had met. So
I'm talking about when
we meet,
when we did meet, we had come up with,
yeah, those little things.
with the entities, so we was just, Joy has done a great job of taking the list of what we'd like to have churches and, okay, what are the churches, what's the contact, the address?
It might be helpful if we all had that list, just in case somebody noticed something missing.
Yeah, we can send that to you.
And what we had talked about that the other group did so successfully was that the community members came up with ideas and it was shared, and that all the other people, instead of taking a long time to speak, had little dots so that they had, I don't know, say 10 dots or something, and they were able to, without taking a lot of time talking, go up and put their dots what represented their values.
Yep.
So that I've seen is very effective. In the
I think
past.
so. I think what we can do is, if we think of this as the overall concept, I'd be happy to even come back and work with Patty, and I'm happy to work with Patty and even you if you'd like on what the format of the post-lunch, listening and hearing session would and could look like.
So the pre-lunch is the administrators saying what we're doing, and the post-lunch would be what would be hearing feedback or other ideas from the community.
And then have a subgroup of that cast of, it could be 100 plus, have a subgroup, of that be the steering committee that would, commit to meet, probably 4 or so times over the course of October to be able to come here with a drafted plan.
Sounds like a plan.
Any other comments?
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
What's for lunch?
Lobster rolls, if you want to.
And where would this be held?
We would, I want to be cost conscious. I think we've got a great facility here at the high school. I imagine that we would hold it here at the high school and just cater it.
Sounds good.
I have a question. Patty's last name and who is Patty?
Patty Grenier. Patty is retired superintendent. She ultimately retired as the superintendent of Barnstable Public. Lives next door in Orleans, and is I think she has a good feel for our community and our school district. Patty was a mentor to me along the lines, but I have also worked with Patty to mentor several of our administrators. She's so she's spent a lot of time with our admin team and in our school buildings, and I think knows our community well. And I've also watched her facilitate a number of different meetings. We have Patty come in and do a lot of professional development with our teacher leaders in the district. And you take a room full of teachers with ideas, and she does a great job of just sort of sitting back and listening. So I think if we want somebody, somebody who knows us, who knows the Cape, I think she'd be a great person to bring in for the Saturday.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, moving on to the next item, full day, full year pre-K update.
So I sent an email to the school committee that I had, we were sort of moving forward with a full day, full year pre-K to work with Cape Cod Child Development, and it was one of those where, where it seemed that everything was all worked out, and then I had a phone call that didn't get returned, and saw in the newspaper that the executive director has moved on and that there's an interim. So I had reached out to the interim director to check to see where our project was on their list, being quite cognizant of when there's a transition of that level within an organization. Oftentimes there's a little bit of a retrenching on how many balls do you now juggle when you have your executive director transition. So the board from Cape Cod Child Development has indicated that they won't be doing our project, so there won't be a full day, full year pre-K at Chatham Elementary School. I let the interim director know that I'd submit in writing to them just a desire for them as they regroup and think about things looking forward, that we'd be very interested in pursuing a similar program in our schools here, because there is clearly the need for more preschool opportunities.
After what we had heard in the presentation, that there were 70 people children on a waiting list, and that 1 or 2 daycare in Harwich were closing, I think just closed. It sounds like there might be a crisis for childcare.
I believe, at least what I've heard through the grapevine, is there's a preschool that a number of our teachers had kids in that recently closed in Harwich. That, so it's a need that's here, and it sounds like they, as an organization, recognize the need. It's just their wherewithal at the moment to address it.
I certainly understand that you have to go through things carefully, but I'm sad for the families that there might be some needs lacking.
Just a quick update. Oh, I can wait for the superintendent's report.
Oh, yes.
Madam Chair, just before, if I could follow up on what Sharon commented, that is too bad, and those things do happen in life. I wonder, though, as we march toward this gathering for our strategic plan, that we or somebody build that in for next year, meaning we follow up with either this outfit on the Cape to make it part of our plan to initiate the conversation again.
Well, yes, and in the list, or on the list of entities that are being invited to be part of the strategic planning September 22nd day are the larger child preschool providers in Harwich and Chatham. So we wanted to make sure that was part of the list.
Yeah, I really commend that, because I think if we're talking about having a preschool program at our school, for instance, the 1 or 2, like Monomoy and Rocking Unicorn or something, probably would want to be involved with
Right.
that.
Thank you. Superintendent's report?
In terms of my report, because I'm the bearer of bad news today, one of the other bad news things is as the government was going through and looking at the eligibility of Chatham Public Schools for the CEP program, which is the free lunch program. It turns out that in order to qualify for the CEP program, the total number of directly certified free students plus homeless, runaway, and foster students had to have been at least 40% of the population by April 2018. The directly certified reduced students who were approved via the application process don't count towards the percent required. Long and short is that after DESE looked at this, they concluded that Chatham Elementary did not qualify for the program for the 2018-2019 school year. So, while, on, I guess an initial look from folks seemed that the school would qualify, they appear to be right on the cusp of being able to qualify. So, the saying goes, there is no free lunch. Well, next year there is no free lunch. Yeah, there are some students that will have free and reduced lunch, but the concept of the program is when you hit that threshold, everyone has free lunch and breakfast. Other things in terms of my report, I believe since we last came together, the meeting that we had in Harwich, was that since our last meeting? So Sharon and I were at a meeting with the chair of the Harwich Selectmen, the Harwich Town Manager, regarding the fields behind Harwich Elementary School and the Harwich Community, or Harwich Cultural Center, formerly known as Harwich Middle School. I know the concern that Sharon has, which is very legitimate, is that we don't want to see the green space lost, and we want to make sure that there's open space that's there for kids, and and if there's open space, then there's open space for further possibilities that may be needed in the future. At least what we heard from the town that I think was positive from my standpoint is they recognize that there is a need for green space, and they also recognize that there's a need to improve the green space behind the cultural center. And the conversation was really around pulling together partners and potentially having a outreach to the CPC, the Community Preservation Group, to look at using CPC money to renovate the fields behind there. Things that I shared to have on the Town of Harwich's radar screen, the way the line was drawn, there's 2 basketball courts back there, and just shared that while the line was drawn and that they are on where the proposed school district side of the line, that those basketball courts are in need of care and repair, and that should be part of this overall ask of CPC money. And then I have been putting on everyone's radar screen that there's also the playground at Harwich Elementary School, which is a beautiful playground. The Castle in the Clouds is a gem that the town of Harwich has had for years, and it's an aging wood playground structure that that is in need of repair. So so we will be doing some bringing in some consultants to do sort of a safety review of the playground, but we also as a school a district need to look at sort of a future planning for that to be replaced, and that again is something that could be eligible for CPC money. And I was suggesting to the town manager and the chair of the Harwich Selectmen that it might be nice to actually consider that whole swath of land behind the 2 buildings as updating all of it.
And at that meeting, there were 2 representatives from the selectmen, the town administrator, the 2 of us, and there was someone else, I can't remember who else was there.
Ed McManus was there, and
Right, he and...
and Katie.
And Katie, and what's the woman's name that's the chair of the...
Julie Kaplan.
Julie Kaplan. So they also agreed to, in a memorandum of understanding, put in that the school would have the use of the back area, all of that back area, during school time and an hour and a half after school for after-school activities. And they said that they wouldn't put the word exclusive use in because there might be some Memorial Day, some particular event, but generally it would be the use for the school during the school day and after school time. But I was happy with that.
And last but not least, in terms of things to report out, just before the meeting, I sent the committee an email just on some good academic news. What I had shared is that if we, if it's nice, as I was sitting there at my office today, I spent the day looking at the AP results that have come in. So we know how our kids did last year on AP exams, and and it's always sort of like let's see if we can get more kids taking AP tests, and let's see if we can get more kids doing well, doing that much better on AP tests. And so it was nice to kind of do a little reflection back on 5 years ago when we started and where we are. So when we first came together as a school district, there were rather few AP classes available to students in our two towns. If you went to Chatham High School or Harwich High School, there were about 4 AP classes at Chatham High School, and at most you had 8 AP classes at Harwich High School. And when we initially put the program of studies together for this building when it was first opening, we had made a concerted effort to expand the AP program and bolster the academic program downstream so that the students were ready for an AP program when they got here to the high school. And for those that have been on the committee long enough, you might remember in that first year, we actually had people coming to our meeting and other board meetings within particularly the town of Harwich, advocating that that we shouldn't expand the AP program, or maybe just to add a class at a time and see if the kids were ready for that level of rigor. And we opted to not do that, but instead double the AP classes that were available in the first year when we opened this building. Well, year after year, we've expanded the number of students taking AP tests and the number of AP exams that have been taken. We went from 71 students taking AP tests in the first year of the high school to 86 this past year. It doesn't seem like much of an increase, but it's a small school. It's 21% increase in the students taking exams. We went from 120 exams taking to 194, 66% increase in the number of exams taken. And within those 86 test takers were 45 seniors, 36 juniors, 4 sophomores, even 1 freshman, taking 18 different subject tests. We have also been focused on supporting students doing better on the exams. Last year we had 59.4% of the test takers had scores of 3 and above. This year it went up to 67.5% with scores of 3 or above. To be an AP scholar, you have to receive 3s or higher on 3 or more exams. When we first started, we had 9 AP scholars. We're up to 29 AP scholars. And of those 29 AP scholars, 5 of them were scholars with distinction. 3 of them were scholars with distinction. To be a scholar with distinction, you have to have 3s or higher on 5 AP exams. And so, I mean, it's been nice to just kind of look, year after year, seeing that go up. So I sent an email to Bill, sort of kudos, and I said, okay, we're up to 67.5%. Let's go see that 75% next year with us maintaining or improving the number of participants. But it's been nice to just see that kind of gradual improvement year after year, and that's really it speaks to what's happening at the high school, but it also speaks to what's happening downstream, that students are better and better prepared. So congratulations to everybody at the high school that's involved with that.
I think that's true. When I was on the school committee before, it was Monomoy. Chatham was going the International Baccalaureate, not focusing AP attention, and Harwich was going AP. And to come together in a short time as we have, and gone the AP route and made this much progress, I think it's very commendable. I have a question for you, though.
Sure.
So AP is for not all students. Do we have plans to do anything with the honors program to maybe ramp that up so that another population that might not be quite AP?
Well, there's improvement to the program, across the board. This is just acknowledging, what's
Yes.
happening.
No, I'm great. I'd like to hear more about the honors another time. Thank you.
Yeah, and just in terms of how do you get to that 75% above? So, being a numbers guy, I'm digesting it, and I'm just kind of pointing out to Bill, here are the 4 tests. If we can go and focus supports on these 4 tests, and sat down with Mark Smith today and said, here are school districts that have had success on these 4 tests. Let's go, do some outreach and get some insights on supporting a program, in those, on those particular subject areas to even see us go up. One of the teachers had just tremendous improvement in how well her students did this past year, and I was sending her an email just asking, and again, it was the same sort of email I sent to Bill. Great job, and and it was nice. She sent me a whole series of emails on how she had digested the number, her students' results, and she's like, next year it's like I'm going to go for 100% of the kids getting 3 and higher. So I'm pretty sure that if she does what she was unpackaging, that she can get there.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. I believe I skipped over subcommittee reports. Are there any subcommittee reports? Okay, that's probably why I skipped it. All right. Action items, we're going to hold on the encumbrances? No? I'm sorry. All right.
At the last school committee meeting, I asked for, and we voted on the general fund encumbrances. Those are the invoices that are related to FY18, but we had not received yet. At the same time, Leah was working very diligently of processing invoices because that last school committee meeting is the last meeting that we can wrap up the fiscal year. So when I was running my report and Leah was paying invoices, which we paid, I asked you to approve an encumbrance list that was too high, because we had paid some Cape and Island Vineyard invoices as well as Bosco. So what I'm requesting, please, is a revote of the FY18 general fund encumbrances, which is a reduction, and have the revote be for $69,967.36. In addition to the reduction from Cape and Vineyard and Bosco, there was an invoice that came in for $41.60 that we needed to add to the list. So per our auditors, we need to revote this dollar amount. If someone would be so kind.
I have in my possession of 2 formal motions regarding Katie's explanation, so let me read them to all of us. A motion to modify the amount projected to be collected in fiscal 19 miscellaneous revenues indicated on the fiscal 19 assessment approved March 8th, 2018 to $13,562 from an original amount of $14,000. There is no change to the amounts assessed to our 2 towns, a $438 change. I'd like a...
So that's item 2 that we had, so the encumbrance is the second one there.
That was the first motion that I read. You wanted me to read the second one first.
Please, sorry. I'm so
Thank you.
sorry.
Let me read the second one
Okay.
first. This motion to modify the fiscal 18 general fund encumbrance amount to $69,960.36 from the amount voted on July 12th, 2018 of $79,108.51, a $9,141.15 change. Looking for a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So the second motion, which you had a little bit of a preview to.
Which was read first.
I apologize, I had there was a $438 error on the assessment that you approved, so we need to revote the assessment. It does not impact to either towns, but when I relooked at, when I went to plug the numbers into the software system, there was a $438 math error.
Does everyone remember? Can anyone repeat the motion that I read? Assuming no one can, let me repeat it again. Motion to modify the amount projected to be collected in fiscal 19 miscellaneous revenue as indicated on the fiscal 19 assessment approved March 8th, 2018 to $13,562 from the original amount of $14,000 even. There is no change to the amounts assessed to our two towns, a $438 change.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I just want to, so whoever, you might want to have these be shared duties. There are pages and pages and pages of surplus to be declared this evening that was set out in your packets. I think we counted out 20-something pages. This summer, Jim's team with the technicians as well as the custodians have been going through and cleaning out junk that's been in, stuff that's been in closets, in nooks and crannies, and this is all of the surplus that, I would be happy to read it if someone else doesn't want to, because as we know, Jackie's not here. The importance of it is that we want, it's all been pulled out, so we would like this all cleared away before the start of school. So just, there's a lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a reader or a write? Or do we have to read it, or can we just collectively do it?
They don't have to be read into the record. The record will contain all of the documents, and of the, truly, I'll highlight some things that may be of value that we'll be offering to the towns first. We have a server cabinet, and you put these servers in the head end room, that we don't need it anymore because of Jim's reorganization with the scale systems, et cetera. So we'll be offering those to the two towns to see if either one of their technology departments would need a server. And then at the high school, there's 2 wood lathes that we are surplusing, as well as a drill press that we'll be offering those out. Truly, the rest of the stuff is old, obsolete stuff, broken things.
So, could I have a motion to, accept the packet with a couple items offered to the town that were mentioned, the cabinet and some of the other high school items?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, then,
Executive session roll call vote.
pardon me?
Executive session roll call vote. Or dismissal, to adjourn first.
Yes.
We have to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn to executive session, section 21, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and negotiations.
Second?
Okay, so,
It
is
needs
this
to be a
where you,
roll- and you have to do a roll call vote.
roll
Aye.
call? Oh, aye, okay,
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
aye.
All right.
Okay,
excellent. Madam Chair?
Nice job.